Welcome to Shoreside Operational, not just another supply chain podcast. So today, I would like to start out with a public service announcement. Someone called me out on my last podcast and basically stated that I didn't know anything about the ILWU. So I'm gonna go on record. I'm gonna say I do know more about the ILA than I do know about the ILWU. I will honestly admit that. I have no problems admitting that. But I'm gonna call you out. Educate me. Tell me why don't I understand it? Tell me what I'm missing. I know that there's not a lot of information that comes out of negotiations and in that type of thing, but tell me what I'm wrong about. Tell me where I went wrong. Tell me what I said wrong.
Tell you what you don't know?
Tell me what I don't know. Exactly. Educate me. That's what this platform is for. You had enough to send me a message, and I did reply to you. And I honestly admitted on that reply, yes, I don't know as much about the ILWU as I do know about the ILA. However, what I do know is I do know terminal operations. And I know every terminal and every port in North America. So tell me what I'm missing on the ILWU. Educate me. That's what I'm asking for. Okay, so that was my public service announcement.
Podcast service announcement.
Podcast service announcement. Yes, my podcast service announcement.
No, podcast and YouTube now.
Oh yes, my podcast and YouTube service announcement. So this episode we're going to go back a little bit about one of the podcasts that I did in the past is employee retention. A lot of you really like that podcast, and I wanted to talk more about that. I didn't get a lot of feedback on it, but it was the most watched, or I should say most listened to podcast that I've done so far.
Yep.
So obviously you liked what I had to say, or even if you didn't tell me, but that's okay. So employee retention, especially when it comes to the transportation industry, is very difficult. There's a lot of turnover in this business, and only people that are going to be like 40 plus are going to understand this, but this business is very Fleetwood Mac. So there's a lot of movement in the business, and unfortunately that movement creates a lot of open positions that a lot of companies honestly are looking for too much to fill. But on the other side of that spectrum, the employees that we are getting, we're getting these green employees. They've never been in transportation. They don't know what transportation is, and we're not taking the time or the effort to actually train them properly, so that way they can actually find that love of the industry. A lot of times it comes in the form of lack of pay. You got somebody that's green, you pay them a certain amount for, say, like a coordinator or a clerk position, but in that same respect if they've got a college degree, you're going to pay them just a little bit more. What does that matter? College degrees don't mean anything nowadays in business. And unfortunately, some of these companies are still holding tight to those ideals. I can hire Joe Schmo from Kokomo right off of the street, and he could be the best employee. And he could barely have graduated from high school because he wanted the job more. He was willing to work for it more. Or I can hire that mom that's a single mom and has 2 kids that she needs to support, and she's going to be my best employee because she wanted it more than some pretentious little snot coming straight out of college. No offense, I'm a pretentious snot that actually went to college 3 different times, so I'm calling myself out on that one.
Are you a doctor?
No.
Oh, never mind then.
No, but I do have the associates, the bachelor's, and the master's. So
No, maybe you got the turkey down.
little bit overeducated. So
Just a tad.
yeah, exactly. A little trifecta going on there. But I mean, we want people that are willing to work in this industry. As a manager, as a head of a department, I want people that are going to be loyal to the company and loyal to me. This is the best part of being a leader, is knowing that you can inspire someone to actually have that loyalty. I had an employee not too long ago that had an opportunity to move on and to better herself. She struggled. She struggled with the decision a lot. I mean, and it was, I mean, in my brain, it was a no-brainer. It was completely a no-brainer. I literally like with the foot and kicked her to the door. And because to me it was a no-brainer, but to her struggle didn't come with staying with the company. It came with staying with me. So, and that was huge for me as a leader, knowing that someone was that loyal and saw my leadership as that good, to where that they actually struggled to make that decision that in my own brain was a no-brainer. But that's what we have to do as companies.
As leaders.
Yes, as leaders.
As leaders. You have to be a leader first. You can't, all right, so the company is ultimately going to hire the person, right? It's going to be a company that says, hey, you need a person because you went to your boss and you said, hey, I need a person, right? Or two people. And your boss says, okay, hire them. So you hire them based on what you see on paper. The people coming in have to want the job. They have to learn. They have to want to learn. They have to want to be that person. And if they're not that person, then everybody's wasting time. You can't just come there, sit, and go, oh, I'm getting paid just to kind of sit here and barely do anything. Because barely doing anything in a smaller group of people will get you back out the door really quick.
Oh, yeah, I have a story about that.
Yeah, but that's how I see it. Okay, that's my point of view. Because I have been that manager that had to move people out of an office because the simple fact is they were kind of a little bit of causing chaos. And you can't cause chaos if you want. I mean, you're never going to have complete peace in an office or in a small division or whatever it is. It's about managing the chaos.
Oh yeah,
100%. And that's what you have. Everybody has to learn that. Companies, I think, and this is, like I said, this is my opinion. I think companies, especially when you start getting the upper levels, they forget where they started and how they were when they came in, because they're so easy and so eager to get rid of people, just like in an instant. They want, all right, he didn't work out. It's only been 3 days. Oh, well, they should know better. It's been a week. Come on, give me a break here.
Yeah.
All right, so when a company hires, they should be looking at how am I going to keep that person long term, not short term. That's my memory.
Well, there's okay. So, for example, you have a job description. Okay, and your job description is for what you're hiring for. Yes, all of the functions are there.
Yep.
But then HR, I guess, gets it in their head that they're going to go and put a time frame on it. Like that you should be up to speed in say 25 days or something to that effect.
I think that depends on the job.
Yes, 100%. And you cannot, and sorry for all you techies out there, you cannot rely on ChatGPT. It does not know the job. It may give you a lot of information to put on your on the job description, and it may make it a little bit easier for you to put it on the job description, but it doesn't know everything about the job or what the person needs to actually grasp. So take hazmat, for example. Hazmat is a very difficult niche within transportation that needs to be taught. You can't just come in and know what you're doing. And if you do come in and you don't know what you're doing, you can't approach it like I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to type all these words that I have absolutely no idea what they mean or even what they say. I can't even pronounce the word, but I'm going to type it and I'm going to go with it. But I have no idea the context behind it. That's the problem, is the context behind it. And that's where leadership and employee retention comes in. You have to teach the person, the new people, the entire scope of what it is that they're doing in their job. Now, I mean, like transportation, for example. Transportation is something that can be learned. I mean, your specific job function can be learned within a day. So, in that respect. But it takes more to grasp the concept of the full picture of it. So, like hazmat, for example.
Yeah.
When you're typing all these words and you're sending it off to, say, a partner for approval, or you're sending it off for overseas ports for approval, this is where you need to understand that the ambulance is not going to get there in 20 minutes if that ship catches on fire because you typed something wrong and they approved something wrong. And it wasn't, and they stowed it next to something that it's not compatible with because you entered it incorrectly, because you don't understand the full scope of what it is that you're actually doing. The problem with that is that, like I said, the ambulance doesn't get there in 20 minutes in the middle of the Atlantic or the middle of the Pacific, or if a ship is going through the Suez Canal. I mean, it might get there a little bit quicker, but I can guarantee you it's still going to be a difficulty to try and get somebody off of the ship. But employee retention, I think, will go a lot further if you tell the employee, or if you explain to the employee, you show the employee the impact of what it is that they're doing and how that this can actually help the entire world. I mean, everything needs to be shipped. I don't care what it is. Somebody has to ship it somewhere, whether it be in an airplane, on a train, in a truck, or on a ship. It still has to be moved.
Agreed. I think when you go to hire somebody, you have to have full transparency. In the description, when they're applying, it should say, blah, 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 what the job entails. And when you sit down with somebody and you're looking at them and say, can you do that job? Do not say yes. Do not say no. Think about it for a second and give me your answer. Because I don't need you to say yes because you want the job or you need the job. We get it. You wouldn't be there if you didn't need the job or you didn't want the job. Okay? But employee retention, that has to be, you have to be willing to give people a little bit of a break, but you also have to be stern. And I think you have to have that person that wants to learn. They have to want to learn, especially if they've never done, like hazmat. Mm-hmm. I've never done hazmat. I mean, granted, I'm hazmat certified because of the railroad, but I never sat in an office, sat behind a computer, and looked up these very long 20-syllable words and to type them in. I've never had to do that. And I probably will never have to do that. But I think if I had to come in, if I was sitting in front of you or your boss or whatever, said, can you do this job? I said, and I know hazmat. Let's say I did know hazmat. I come in as somebody. I say, yes, I can do that job. And they say, okay, does that. The only difference is the systems. Okay? You were on one system in a different company. Now you come into a different system at this company. We know it's going to be two different systems. We know we have to give that person a little bit of time to get into the system, get used to the system. That's going to take at least 30 days.
And that's just the system. I know that a lot of employers want the new employees. I mean, you're hiring for skills, correct? This is how employee retention goes. You hire for skills so you can keep the employees. The problem is that some employers, the way that they approach this is they say, okay, well, you've got a bachelor's degree and you have a little bit of experience, so you should be able to pick this up within 30 days. Well, sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes they need a little bit more time, especially with niche type processes like hazmat.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I'm not going to hire, Chloe Schmo from, Kokomo to come in and be a vessel planner. Vessel planners take years to learn. And that is a very, very skilled, it's a very, very smaller niche even than hazmat is. You have to learn how to manipulate the Rubik's Cube without flipping over a ship. You need to learn how to segregate without, catching a fire, near the house. You need to know how many reefers you have on board if you're going to take any hide bookings, and how many, and because you have to keep them away from each other because hides stink. I mean, this is all of the stuff. Maybe like a quarter of what they actually look at when they're actually planning a vessel. So that particular skill is a very niche within a niche. And we know this. I mean, I can put a job description out there, but I can't hire someone and teach them this if they don't even know how to plan a yard. I mean, you have to start with a yard. I mean, I hate to say it like this, but it is a lot easier to train a former crew member or a former captain of a ship in order to plan a vessel, because they're constantly doing it while they're on the ship and they see the Rubik's Cube in real time. Yeah. But employee retention, so the story that I had an employee a while back that we hired her, thought it was a good fit. She had hazmat and safety background, and I thought it was going to be a great fit. And she fell to the clutches of the clique within the office. And I hate to say it like that, but that's the short and the long of it. She fell to the clutches of the clique. And she started getting false information packed into her head on how to manipulate the system and get away with not working. Unfortunately, it did not work out. I did end up having to actually let her go. But she had potential in the beginning. And she was such a great employee, and we taught her everything that she needed to know. And unfortunately, it still didn't work out. So it's employees like that unfortunately...
It's a shame. It's a shame, because you thought she was going to be a great fit, and it's just a shame it wasn't. And work is not work is not like high school. If you're going to be all cliquey and stuff, go back to frickin' high school.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're like this in your job, and you're 40, 50, 60 years old, and you're in a clique, give me an effing break.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But there are times when employee retention just is not possible. And that's a situation where employee retention is not possible. But if you get someone that is green in the industry, and you get them straight out of college, that's fine too. But you have to take the time to explain to them the business. Just because you can do it with your hands tied behind your back and hopping on one foot doesn't mean that they can. Just because you learn a certain way doesn't mean that they do. You have to change the way you approach it. You have to look at different things. You have to see different training. You have to take a step back from your own head and ask a few questions to figure out how they learn and who they are, because that'll give you an insight to how to keep your employees. I lead by example. I am not afraid to get down into the weeds and do the job along with you. I will jump in there. Just because I'm the head of the department doesn't mean a damn thing. I will still get into the weeds and I will still do the job. Now, granted, I will not plan a vessel because I don't know how. But all other aspects of operations, marine operations, I can do. I can process an invoice. I can negotiate a contract. I can report on a vendor. I can sell a new product. I can look at terminal operations and determine when the problem's going to come up. I can even, I was a port captain, so I can find out if we're going to have a problem with our husbandry, if there's going to be an issue with the cash to master, if we're going to have customs issues. I can do all of that, but I know my limitations. So if it comes down to training your employees and you're limited because you haven't taken the time to learn your employees' jobs, then that's on you. And that's your employee retention problem right there. Get down in the weeds. Do what they do. Listen to them. Because this is the only way you're going to actually retain your employees, and you're going to actually spark that loyalty in your employees where they will come into an office every single day no matter what. And they will do the job. Sorry, little soapbox there.
No, just a little. You okay now, Norma Ray? Jeez. Let's talk about morale. If you don't have good morale in a company, you are definitely not going to retain anybody. They'll want to jump ship. There's a lot of companies, especially way back further, 20 years ago and stuff, where they were, they would hire people and then come, go, come, go, come, go. And it's ridiculous because when I look at it, you have to retrain again. Okay? So if you got somebody comes in for let's say 4 months and you're not treating them well and they don't like the company and this and that and whatever it is, and now they're gone. They're gone after 4 months. Now you got to go back and you have to put out you have to do another interview. You have to go through a stack of frickin' interviews. Then you have to hire the person. You have to go through all the frickin' onboarding crap again.
All the training.
And then hopefully
they grasp it.
And they stay.
Yes.
And if they don't, guess what? In another 4 months, you'll be doing this shit all over again.
The amount of man hours that are wasted on employers not putting forth that effort to know the job, to know how to train their employees, or even to offer compensation for the job in itself. That is huge. And unfortunately, I haven't seen that change in
years. It never changes.
At least 30 years, and I don't think it ever will, unfortunately.
It never changes. A lot of companies, more or less small business companies, I think take care of their employees a little bit better.
Well, there's a lot more intimacy.
Right.
In bigger corporations, you are but a number. That is it.
It's it. They'll replace you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, because they don't care about the overhead. They don't care about the lost man hours. They don't care about the turnover. As long as somebody is there in that seat doing a job.
Numbers is all they care about.
Yes, and you are only in them.
That's it. Numbers is all they care about. Why didn't this, and this get done? The numbers show it should have been this. Well, guess what? Today it was snowing in wherever, and the numbers got cut. Why? Because there's 6 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. They don't care.
No, they don't care.
How come the job wasn't done?
Exactly. And it doesn't matter.
But in order to overcome that, even in a big corporation, in a large business, where maybe the employer themselves actually views you as a number, what you can do as a leader to bring up that morale and to retain your employees, to make sure they know that they're wanted and make sure that they're doing a good job. I don't walk around, I don't yell at people. I think I've raised my voice twice in an office, and that was one was a situation that I needed to raise my voice for. The other one, somebody was screaming at me, and I had to kind of get them to hear me. So I raised my voice, but that's the only time I've ever raised my voice to my employees. And it was for very extremely specific reasons. I don't raise my voice. There's no need to. I don't berate my employees. There's no need to. I don't call out my employees on the floor in front of other employees. There is absolutely no need to.
Nope, take them into an office, separate room,
exactly,
and talk to them.
I make my employees understand, or no, let me rephrase that. I don't, that's a bad phrase. I allow my employees to understand that I'm not picking on them. I'm doing what I need to do. Yes, at the end of the day, the bottom line is the company needs to make money. But
do your job.
But we don't have to it doesn't have to be difficult for us to get there.
Do your job and you won't hear from me.
Exactly. If you're doing your job and you took that full 15-minute break and you had to go out for lunch for an hour and it took you an extra 5 or 10 minutes to get back, I don't care, because you're doing your job. That's what matters. And you're doing your job well. And that's what really matters. My door is always open. And that's the way I look at it.
Well done. Well said.
Yes, exactly.
All right. That is going to be it for tonight.
Yes. And remember, like, subscribe, click that little notification bell so that way you get my my things, and just like the other comments I got, whether it be good comments or bad comments, I don't care. I don't care if you're a hater. Bring it on. Tell me, educate me why you hate my podcast, why you hate my YouTube channel. I don't care. Just educate me.
You can find the latest episodes. We're going to post them to our website, shoresideoperational.com. And that's where our latest YouTube video will be. And you'll have a quick link to there. Until next time.
Kathleen signing out.